Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes. Hey, Myra J, how are you?
I'm fine. I feel like we're all part of the glasses crew.
Yeah,
You
except
are.
for,
You
and
are.
young
Yeah.
Quinn will come and mess us up. Uh, Stephen
Ah,
Hill, how are you?
y- darn fine. I'm glad to be in America. So glad to be in America with red glasses on. I had lost my red glasses a long time ago, and now I have a new pair. So I'm very excited and happy.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
You know
Okay.
what? As a famous philosopher once said, doesn't take much to make me happy or make me smile with glee.
Okay.
Thank you very much. How
Never,
you doing,
never
Sid?
will you feel discouraged. I
Good.
know, I
Yeah,
know, I know.
because I
Because
love
my
no
love's no
mystery.
mystery.
Obviously, demonstrating love. Yeah.
Whoop, whoop, whoop,
Young
whoop.
Quinn is on her way. She's a busy lady these days with her new gig at Loyola Marymount, as well as studying for her doctorate through Morgan State. She's busy. She's just one
Some,
busy
some
young girl.
somebody here's got to work a 9 to 5.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know, I
It's
know,
like
I know.
somebody.
I know. No, we work like eight to midnight.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you guys are here. Stephen Hill, you're home for a while,
I am in a home being the United States of America. Yes.
right? Yeah.
Uh, hey, what's
There's Quinn. Quinn with the cute hair.
up?
Quinn with the cute hair.
Hi.
Loving it. Loving it.
Thank you. So sorry I'm
Okay.
late. I'm like trying
Okay.
to handle these multiple screens and then family and all the things. But how are you guys? I love your glasses, Myra.
See,
And
this is
also,
normally.
okay,
Can I
missed
just tell
you
people this is
again.
normally the
Thank-
pre-show conversation, and your hair, your glasses, all
That's
of
right.
that. Missed it because not everybody was here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quinn, you don't have any glasses?
No, I have contacts.
Okay.
Oh,
But you
all
did
right.
mail me you did mail me glasses. I do have them.
Okay, that
Fine.
was that was
That was what that was about. Yeah.
that
Yes.
was
Yeah.
no.
I have
You
to
didn't have
put
to. You didn't have to mention where you got them from. The whole point was to not to mention where you got them from. Just pop them
sorry.
on.
Sorry. I exploded. Sorry. Yes, I do have them. I just don't have them on while I'm in class every day.
Got it.
Understood. Oh, yeah.
Got
But
it.
yeah,
How are things, young Quinn?
they're good. I attended a decennial. It happens every 10 years. Black Poetry Conference at the nation's first center for Black poetry, called the Furious
Oh,
Star Poetry Center. And I hosted the open mic, and I also presented a workshop on the racialization of poetics in academia. So basically, talking about the anti-blackness that enters the room when it comes to spoken word versus like folks who have an MFA. Um, and it was really decadent and like lush. And I don't do well in like super high academia spaces. For some reason, like the South Side really comes out when I be like, dang, like y'all talk like this for real? Like y'all talk like this for real? And so I'm around like Evie Shockley and Elizabeth Alexander and Kwame Dawes and like Dinesh Smith and Nikki Finney and like all these folks. And I'm like, so do y'all like, sugar in your grits or like salt and pepper? And they're trying to talk about, like other real stuff. But it was really
Real stuff.
cool.
Yeah.
Yes, like real things are happening because there's so much happening. And I'm still even on the tightrope of grief, hearing about the Black man Marcelus,
Yeah.
who
The
was
prisoner. Yeah.
so it was
Executed
it was a
last month.
lot. It was really rich, and I'm excited about the future of Black poetry. I'm still in class. I have homework that's late, but
what?
we
The
are
teacher
here.
is late with her homework.
Right, and then like I got
Mm,
asked to teach a class next
Shame.
mm.
semester. I'm just about to be late with grading. I'm about to be late with my homework. I'm just late. I arrived late today. I'm late. This is that week.
And
So,
what has your mama told you about being late?
oh, what has my mom told me about late?
Okay.
Excuses
You
build
know,
monuments to nowhere.
excuses build monuments
Wow,
and those who accomplish
excuses
and using them will
Build
never ever
monuments
amount to
to
anything.
nowhere.
Yes. That is one poem I learned in Delta Land. But my mom is late, so I don't think she ever told me nothing about being late.
Because I would think your mother would, because you and your brother are so prompt that when you are late, it's like, oh, I hope everything's
That
okay.
is
whole
the
thing,
one
the whole
thing I
thing.
will credit to my father. My father was a timely man. My father was a very timely man. My mother, bless her heart, bless her intention. She will be late. I don't know what the world has against her in regards to getting ready, but she will be 30 minutes, 45 minutes late. So I always try to tell her, like, oh, the program starts at 3, not at 5. And then she'll get there at 5.
We had an express yourself question about that this week because one of your cohorts, Coy, is notoriously
She
tardy, and
a lot going on.
Yolanda, who was on with us on Mondays, is like your dad, very timely, and her parents are both like that. Like when you're on time, you're late.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of those people. And so I wish that you had been a part of that conversation because
Oh, yeah.
because you know the excuses, and that was our expression. What is your excuse for being late, or some of the great ones you've heard? And we had a lot of them, but you know,
Yeah.
Coy's she has ADD, and
Oh,
it's like okay, all right,
Well,
there we go.
she has more alphabets than that, and she's always late.
please.
She's missing a letter because she was late to the game. We have a guest coming up this evening, Derica Wilson from the Black and Missing Foundation, and she's got new information for us. So let's get started with the What You Need to Know newsletter. Today's newsletter is it features Kwyn Townsend Riley as our LGBTQ contributor. And Kwyn, you have a great story about a trans woman being honored in the city of Nashville.
Yes, this is actually a person that I never heard of. So I don't know if you guys, my seasoned, my well in the industry folks know about a singer by the name of Jackie Shane. But she was a trailblazing soul vocalist. And she's actually being honored in the city of Nashville, her hometown, last Friday. In addition to that, Elliot Page, you may know of Elliot Page. I know them from the movie Juno. They actually have a documentary about them that's coming out in addition to this historic marker. So Jackie Shane, she actually hit number 2 on the Canadian pop music charts in 1963 with her rendition of William Bell's Any Other Way. She also taped an appearance on Night Train, and in the documentary they talk about like how difficult it was because she didn't receive that many opportunities due to her racial and gender identity, but that was something that she was very uncompromisingly unapologetic about, and she was out as far as a Black trans woman, which is very very brave of her. And in 2018 she was nominated for a Grammy, but tragically in February 2019, she died at the age of 78. And so September 20th, 2024 has officially been proclaimed by the Nashville City Council as Jackie Shane Day in the Nashville and the Davidson County area. And the documentary is called Any Other Way, the Jackie Shane story, which should be available everywhere coming soon. But it did premiere at the Country Music Hall of Fame Museum on September 21st. And the documentary, like I said, goes deep into her story. But I thought it was really cool to kind of talk about, again, we're in 2024, and there's so many Black queer, Black trans people that we don't know about that have made history that now they actually get a chance to receive their flowers.
Does this make you, as you said, you weren't familiar with her, I certainly wasn't, but I mean, you have built up quite a compendium of people in the entertainment community who are trans, and it just seems like with all of this, does it make you want to like put together, like I said, a compendium, or put together a book or a maybe even a documentary about people like that?
I would love to actually put together a book.
And when I say people like that, I don't mean anything disparaging.
Oh, no,
I just mean
I
people
know
in the
that.
community.
Yeah, I think what's good about this job, this role, working with you, Sybil, is that I'm never satisfied. Like my appetite is always hungry to discover more and more things that are affecting queer people and like queer history. And so I love the fact that I can say I don't know all the things about queerness and like queer history, because it's ever expanding. It continues to be filled with like more and more names. And I feel as if the world, and this is me, I don't know why I'm so optimistic today, but I feel as if the world wants to read more about these things.
What's good? What's good?
I love that.
We love it when you're
We need
optimistic.
that burst of optimism. Yes.
Just sitting back and
Everybody just
enjoying the ride.
That's right. Sprinkle that around the world. There you
Let
go.
your optimism flow and reach.
I think the world is starting to
dark
become
corner.
more like open and wanting to know about these people, because again, I can't imagine if I never knew about Shirley Chisholm or even Ida B. Wells, right? And like these prominent Black women figures. And now to know that there's more prominent Black women figures that identified as trans, or even like there's more prominent Black queer figures outside of James Baldwin. it just gives such a richness to when we think about trailblazers and earth shifters and national treasures. Like, we have to put Black, queer, and trans people amongst that list. Like, they have to be in the monuments that we always talk about as well. So
Wow. Well, good for you. I love when you do the lighter stories. And I'm sorry about her death, but just the fact that she's being honored, and Nashville, just that
Right,
marriage of Nashville
It's a
and the
big
trans
deal.
community.
Very big deal.
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I was hoping our music expert would. Is it this way?
Yeah.
Our music expert would appreciate this type of story too, or both
I
of y'all
did.
actually, because I was like, I don't know if you guys know about her,
yes,
but I never heard of her.
You have made me. You have made me. I'm going to be looking up something later on today, so I appreciate you for that. Appreciate that.
Yep, absolutely.
I would like to get back to your optimism.
Okay.
Can you hold off on that till we have time? Yeah. We really need you to hold off on the optimism. Put a hold on the optimism train.
Okay.
So we can talk about some of the other things that are in the
But you know what's coming.
newsletter.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. But we would like to talk about some of the things that are in today's newsletter. Of course, every Wednesday is Black and Missing Wednesday in the What You Need to Know newsletter. And today, not only will we talk with the co-founder of Black and Missing Foundation, but also tell the story of the missing young man, Marquise Edwards, 15 years old, has been missing from the south side of Chicago since September 13th. He is a Black male, 5 feet 2 inches tall, with a light brown complexion. He weighs 110 pounds. He has short Black hair and brown eyes. And check out his picture in today's newsletter. If he looks familiar to you, maybe you've seen him since September 13th, where he went missing. I think it was at 51st in Indiana. Please contact the Black and Missing Foundation or the Chicago Police at the numbers given in the story in the What You Need to Know newsletter. And as I mentioned, Derica will be with us in just a matter of minutes. Kwyn's big brother Cameron gave an update on the ongoing and escalating war in the Middle East, and really encourages people to know more about what's going on, to check your news sources and check your news sites and keep up to date with these things, because the situation in the Middle East, from one day to the next, it's just like, okay, so there are some exploding communication devices and a few people got hurt and killed. And then the next day it was hundreds of people have been wounded in this. And now we have rockets going back and forth between Lebanon and Israel. And it's a frightening situation. And it's also a situation where, as we're coming to the end of President Biden's term, some things have to be resolved and other things may not be resolved. But it is going to be a big situation, a big point of political contention in the presidential race, as Donald Trump's people are saying that, he had a lot to do with the accords that were passed before his term was over. And now here we are, just, hoping that the president's people doing back and forth duty between here and various countries in the Middle East to bring some sort of peace to the Middle East. And it's kind of defeatist in a way, to me, in that we have such a short period of time. We have now less than 6 weeks before the presidential contest. And for some people, early voting is already underway. But it is also going to be a bone of contention for the vice president. And if there is another debate between she and the former president.
I just wish they would hurry. I just wish they would hurry up and get this doggone war over so it could be right for the presidency. Listen, here's the thing. Tell me if I'm wrong. As I understand it, Netanyahu has already announced that he is not going to have any more talks about peace until after the election.
Yeah.
Full stop.
He's pretty much, yeah.
So there is going to be no change in policy or anything else before after the election. An announcement that was made after, if I'm not mistaken, Netanyahu and Trump had some kind of secret summit.
Yep.
Well, not so secret if I know about it.
Well, yeah, right. But under the wire, yeah. So
to be clear, I want to remind people. I want to remind people of 1980 or 1979, when the hostages in Iran were released on Inauguration Day to make
January
sure
21st, 1981.
Just right before Reagan came in, It was used as a political
January
device
20th.
throughout the entirety of the election of 1980. And so this is what some people are hoping happens now. This war is not going to change to benefit United States politics. And Netanyahu has already said he's not going to do any negotiations until after the elections. That should tell you a whole bunch.
Myra?
Yes, and also what countries will do, they will wait until the election is done to do something real funky, because they know that the new administration has not been set
They're
yet.
not in there. Yeah.
So they feel like this is a weak and vulnerable moment. So that's the other thing too. Somebody else could just be laying back in the cut going, and how many more days do we have before we set it off?
And think about this. Neither one of these men wants to go to prison. Netanyahu nor Donald Trump. And so there is an alliance. Many believe there's an alliance there to help the other stay in, or to get back in power and to stay in power. And by keeping this war going, he will stay in power. Many believe Netanyahu will, but perhaps by coming up with some sort of secret agreement with Netanyahu, he'll get the Jewish vote, which has rarely ever gone to a Republican, if ever. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
So let's separate, if we can. Let's separate the peace talks and an actual solution, right? Because they're not the same, right? So
a lot of people see them as the same.
They're not. They're not.
Not in
Netanyahu is not going to peace talk this. He's not going to solve this by peace talks at all. Full stop. He's given every indication of that. However, if he were siding somewhat with the Harris strain, he would at least give the illusion of having a talk. He'd at least give talks so that Harris' side.
No, because he's like Donald Trump in that respect. His feelings are very tender, and she did not meet with him when he came to this country.
No, that's my point. No, you're actually proved my point. My point is he has no affinity towards the Harris ticket, none, and so he's acting accordingly, right? If he were aligned with Harris and knew how important this was, he would at least say like, okay, I'll have talks. He's never going to try to solve this with talks. He's going to try to blow Hamas back into the water. I stand on that. I stood on that from the very beginning. But it shows exactly where he's doing. We're aligned. He is aligned with Trump. He could have, if he were aligned to Harris at all, he would start making the illusions of talks.
Oh, at least 10 like.
Right.
Yeah.
But those talks are never going to do anything. They're never. This year, next year, Netanyahu, as long as he is in power, is going to try to blow Hamas through pager, through walkie-talkie, through hearing devices, through braces, through whatever he possibly can, is going to try to blow Hamas out. And Hezbollah. And
the startling comparison that was made this week by a member of the United Nations said that they're fearful that if they don't do something now, that Lebanon will come to look like another Gaza. And you can imagine just what that will look like for a country like Lebanon and what has happened in the Gaza Strip there. It's heartbreaking to see how people have been killed and just made homeless by this war that has gone on. Lastly, I'd like to ask you to take a look at the health section about a diet that helps Black people and especially women reduce cognitive decline. And it's just common sense eating, more green vegetables and beans and all of the good stuff, less of the processed foods, not so many meats, more fish and things like that. It really is just common sense, but sadly, all common sense is not common. But
is there a pork chop in there somewhere?
No, there isn't. No.
Come on, Yolanda. Now it's time to go to the next story. Yolanda's always pushing to the next story. Now's the perfect time. Ain't no pork chop in there. Let's go. Next story.
Well, right. I did see they have plant-based chitterlings.
you know what, Myra? There is such a thing. There is such a thing.
No.
Have you guys seen that place in Chicago? Is it Mazzani, the vegan spot on the east side off of South Shore? It's Black owned. I think it's Milani. Cameron put me onto it, but they have the best barbecue cauliflower that I've ever had in my life, and it's fried. And I was like, I get it, vegans. I understand now. I completely get it. Like, it is very It's guilt-free eating. I, however, will
Even though
still
it's
enjoy
fried?
a Taco Bell. But like, yes, y'all.
Oh,
go
that's because you got them young intestines. Go
Right,
ahead.
right. And
Oh, bless your
and
heart.
Myra, that snapback she got too. So, you know,
Right.
just forget about it. You know, you eat one fried cauliflower, you look like the Nutty Professor over here.
Eventually, it's easy.
So we'll get that from Cameron. If we can get
Yes.
that recommendation, maybe we can do it during trending. Let us move on to what's really going on and welcome our guest, Derica Wilson, co-founder and CEO of the Black and Missing Foundation. And Derica, well, that's not Derica. There she is.
Hi.
I was going to say, Derica, you had different glasses
how you
and
doing?
you had more hair the last time I saw you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We're
This
fine.
is liberating for me. Yeah. No thought at all.
Well, wonderful. We want to thank you for coming on, and you have an announcement to make.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. But before I make that announcement, thank
Yeah.
you so much for utilizing your platform, your newsletter to really highlight the missing in our community. So we really do appreciate that because we know that awareness is key.
Well, thank you.
And yes, the announcement that I wanted to share is that, we always talk about the issues that's impacting, but with the Black and Missing Foundation, we're also solution driven.
Mhm.
So recently, we released our law enforcement best practice guide for missing person cases for their investigations. And we thought that that was so important because every agency don't operate the same way. And we see time and time again how our cases, our children are classified as runaways. Families are being told to wait 24 to 48 hours before they report their loved ones missing. And we wanted to create something, a guide to help them along the way with enhancing their policy and procedures, because we're also seeing that sometimes their policy and procedures don't match their practices.
Right.
And lastly, it's equally important for everyone to have access to this guide. So if they go onto our website, they request access, we will get that access to them. And that's law enforcement, although it is a law enforcement guide, that's the media and that's the community. We want everyone to have access to the same information. We have to remove the gray. This is black and white.
So, Derica, let's talk about this so people can go onto the Black and Missing Information website, Foundation website, and they can ask for access or point to access for the information guide, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is the guide right here. It is over 40 pages of information, and I could just show everyone here 40 pages of information from what flyers supposed to look like, all the missing person alerts. And what's important about the missing person alerts is that we've done the research and we can show you all the alerts that's out there and what states they're associated with, because there's no need to reinvent the wheel. The information is here. So if you see an alert system and in your respected state, they don't have it, you have a tool now to use to see how you can use your voice and your elected officials to help get those alerts pushed in your state.
So does that mean if it doesn't follow their guidelines that they won't accept your information or they won't work with you on a missing person case?
Well, when it comes to missing persons, especially adults, it's not considered a crime.
Right.
Also, from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, they all have their own policies because it's not a law where jurisdictions must take that police report within a certain amount of time. So it's at the discretion of those police departments. We need our legislators from the federal level to enact a holistic policy across this country, regardless of race, gender, and zip code. All people that are missing, their cases need to be handled the same way. And so what we are doing is we're getting ahead of the curve, right? We are hearing what the families are saying to us, because when we created the guide, we brought everyone to the table. Law enforcement, the media, and community, and those family members that are impacted by this. And so we have put everything together. So when we hear law enforcement, they're saying, you know, we have staffing issues. We have recommendations in this guidebook to help them with that. We have examples on how law enforcement partnering with the Black and Missing Foundation and how we're helping to resolve those cases much quicker, because it takes all of us. You know, it's not one entity, it's law enforcement, the media, and the community. That's the perfect partnership to bring awareness, to alert everyone, to let the community know someone's missing, and ultimately end the nightmare for the families.
And one of the things I found with you guys is that, you know, sometimes we get a story about somebody missing. Myra J and I have had conversations about people who have gone missing, and you know, contact you and Natalie, and we're like, well, can you put us in touch with these people, because we don't have that information, and we'd like to help them and to publicize their story. So there's a lot of, you know, it's almost like help us help you help us. You know what I mean? But this is a great guide. This is a great way for people, you know, to take a look at it before you need it, right?
Absolutely. And it's, and I was listening to you all a little early when you were all talking about like common sense, right? So we look at flyers. You know, flyers are not all created equal. So we have, even in our guide, but we have an example of how law enforcement chose to utilize a very disturbing photo of a young man that went missing, instead of using a photo that the family provided. And it really made him look as if he was a criminal. This was a young man who was a law student, who went missing. And sadly, his outcome is not what we all expected. But we should not have to lead with, here's this law student that went missing to gauge people interest. We should say, this young man is missing and we need everyone looking for him. But we find that we do a lot of work because we want to humanize. We have to humanize our missing, but we have to do a lot of work to dispel these stereotypes that are associated with people of color that are going missing.
Wow. For people that are just joining us and they may not know in our newsletter, they may be joining us for the very first time. Can you tell us about the history of the Black and Missing Foundation? I came to know you guys on the Joyner Show, and Jackie Reed brought you all to introduce what you all were doing, and it was in the wake of other cases that were, you know, just they were skywriting, you know, their missing situation of little white girls or young white women, and how the stories of Black people were just kind of shunted off to the side, especially in news organizations. But was it your law enforcement background that brought you to this?
So the Black and Missing Foundation has been in existence for 16 years. And the impetus behind the organization was a young woman that went missing from my hometown. Her name was Tamika Houston. She went missing in 2004. And months later, Natalie Holloway disappeared. And me saying her name, I know your listeners know her face, they know her story. And so Natalie and I, we had a conversation because it really bothered me when I saw Tamika. She looked like she could have been my sister, my niece, my daughter, and she wasn't getting that coverage. So we did some research. And when we decided to start the organization in 2008, 30% of missing persons in the United States were persons of color, mainly Black men. That number has since increased to 40%. And I think what everyone needs to understand is reported is the key word, because not all cases of missing persons of color is actually taken. So sometimes law enforcement, they're not taking it. And if they do take it, that information may not be going into NCIC, which is the National Crime Information Center. That's that database that the FBI utilizes to actually get the statistics and provide every year. So we wanted to just use our expertise. You know, my background is law enforcement. Natalie's background is media and public relations. And those are the two critical professions that are needed in finding our missing.
Wow. And for people who are just hearing about this, and maybe somebody doesn't know about, but it seems like everybody still knows Natalie Holloway and
Mhm.
this young girl going off on spring break or a school trip and disappearing, and how the case finally came to pass. How about your success rate in finding the Black and missing?
Since our inception in 2008, I'm happy to report that we have brought about reunions or resolutions to more than 500 families across this country.
Wow.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we thank you. And we don't utilize the terminology closure. There's no such thing as closure.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it's also important for those that are listening, that are tuning in. Um, the person, the ones that we find and bring home, the person that goes missing is not the same person that returns home,
Right.
Mm.
because you don't know what that person has endured while they were out there and what resources they need once they are back. And not just for that person, but
Hmm.
also for their family as well.
That's right. That's right. And we don't think about that. You're absolutely right. What's the best piece of advice that you can give to people if someone goes, I mean, obviously, contact Black and missing, but what's the best initial steps that one can make if a person goes missing in your family or your neighborhood or your friend circle?
Well, for those that are listening that's on social media, don't bypass these flyers, circulate. We know that someone out there knows something. This could be your loved one, and you want people to act immediately. For families out there that are dealing with this unknown, this is a horrific pain. Never give up on hope. You know, we are here with you. We got to continue to share. We're going to continue to utilize our platform, our resources, our partnerships, because we have seen miracles happen. I mean, there was just a story 2 days ago where someone went missing over 50 years ago out of
Yes.
California,
Yes, I
and
saw
and he was
that.
found. Yes, and that's not the first time that's been a successful case. So we never want families to give up on hope. And we're a very proactive organization. Don't wait until something happens. Have those uncomfortable conversations with your loved ones about all the reasons why people are going missing in the first place. Human trafficking, these predators are luring online. So having those uncomfortable conversations with your children, with your grandchildren, with your nieces and nephews. We are seeing that our seniors are disappearing at an alarming
Right.
rate due
Yeah.
to dementia and Alzheimer's. Get with your family, set up a plan, have those conversations. How do we protect them? And, we also have domestic violence. I mean, that is a
Right.
correlation between missing person. In fact, Tamika Houston's case, she was missing and she was a victim of domestic violence. And so we have to get out of not saying something, especially in our community, that no snitching and mental health. We always, and I'm from the South, I'm from South Carolina, and I know in our community, we're always, we want to pray everything away. We want to internalize everything. We don't want everyone to know. And prayer without faith
Works.
and
Yeah.
work is
Yeah.
dead. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can pray, but also if your loved one is struggling with mental health issues, get them the help, the professional help that they need, because our case numbers have increased.
Jerica, let me just say, Quinn has a question, I believe, or a comment, and Stephen Hill, and we are quickly running out of time. Quinn?
Yes. Hi. Nice to meet you, Derica. I'm Quinn. I'm currently getting my PhD from Morgan State University in applied sociology and social justice. And so, what we talk about all the time is the distinction between differences and disparities. So, within your source of better help and legal justice for Black folks that are missing, how did you guys? Who worked with you in terms of your team to actually be able to aggregate that type of data that shows the differences more so like the discrepancies? Because I know a lot of times when it comes to white people particularly, everybody thinks racism is gone and like there's nothing actually embedded in our system. So how were you guys able to actually calculate that there seems to be an effective way when it comes to actually bringing our people home?
And let me just say, we're going to move into trending right quick. And so Derica can answer that question. But we just are on a time crunch here. So as a part of this trending topics, Derek, if you could answer Kwyn's question, and we'll get to Stephen Hill too.
Okay, absolutely. Well, I mean, ours is life experiences. I mean, we're working with these families and meeting them at their worst time. So that's number one, and seeing how law enforcement are handling their cases, how the media, they're ignoring them, and we're following up with them. We're also getting our statistics from the FBI as well. And we have worked with lawmakers for some of these laws that have come out that really deals with the disparities in missing person cases. So working with elected officials, working directly with the family was our best resource because we're dealing with them firsthand.
Thank you.
And Stephen Hill?
No, and I mean this so sincerely. Like we all have fire blankets in our homes that we'll never use, right? We have fire extinguishers in our homes that we hope we never use. We have locks on our doors that hopefully will never be tested. And I mean this sincerely. To your point about the use of photos when they talk about Black and missing, it's going to sound like a joke, but it is not. I have a photo that Shantae knows to use if I ever get missing, if I'm ever going missing, right? I have one of hers. I encourage you to take really nice photos of your loved ones and then have them like hopefully like the lock in your home, like the fire extinguisher, like the fire blanket, it will never be used, but you have one so you do not look like a criminal. You should take a photo like you're someone who wants to be found, you are of value to the community and everything else. So there is a smile or whatever it might be, but I strongly encourage you to have access to photos of people that you love that you may never need.
I completely agree with that. And sometimes you have to push the envelope because there are families that actually provide the photos to law enforcement.
Yeah.
And they decide that they want to go and pull something out. And it really gives a negative perception of this person that's missing.
Right.
Dante was hard, man. Dante, you better put Dante's hard picture up there.
Yeah, so this is about training them, enhancing, educating them on what should be done, but also giving the tools to the general public so they can also ask the questions because law enforcement, they're public servants.
Derica, thank you so much for all that you do. You and Natalie are great, and we applaud you for all your hard work and want to continue this partnership with you and appreciate your joining us in this and giving great news about this enforcement booklet, law enforcement booklet on how to best approach your individual law enforcement agencies when you have a loved one or someone in your community who is missing. Thank you for all you do. We really appreciate it. You are
Thank
great.
you for having me.
We applaud you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Be well. Stephen Hill, that is a brilliant. I mean, I was thinking about that the other day when I was looking at this information, and I don't know, I don't have any great pictures right along through here that I'm crazy about, but
just take one. Like in this digital age, there's no reason for a grainy picture to represent you anywhere.
Right.
Anywhere.
Well,
unless it's the picture you want for your funeral, it's like from 40 years ago.
And I was actually looking on social media today, and I said, God bless technology. And I know the people like the filters and blah, but I'm like, boo, you gonna get God ain't gonna recognize you, okay? Because you on here looking like a fluffy pillow, and it's like have one picture at least that if you're walking down the street, I know who you are.
Right.
Right.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to find. Okay, I thought I actually had it in this computer. It's not. It's a file. I don't have it on this one though. But yeah.
Well, that's really
quick question for you, Stevie. Glasses or no glasses?
No glasses.
Oh,
no,
okay.
No glasses. My favorite one actually had me. It was more of a profile, but I realized like, if I go missing,
Right.
Well,
everybody
actually,
looking for you sideways.
Let's be honest. The profile is kind of more unique.
Right.
if we're going to be honest. They're either wait, here we go.
The profile.
You're either going to find me. It's either me, Toucan Sam, or Pinocchio. one of the three. Right. Or Squidward. One of the four of us. One of the four of us will be found.
And all I have is you with a love connection in your hand. So, it's like, it's not
And
just, it's
I
unless you got a Royal
went
Caribbean
straight to a
cruise.
lineup. I was like, okay, now face forward.
Right.
Hold this number.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Sticking with our trending topics, Stephen, any new appearances for Shantae?
Yes, she's taking off for China again tonight. If you have Mango
wow.
TV, the Mango TV app, she'll be on Next Singer Friday morning at 7 a.m.
New
Eastern
season
time.
already?
No. She's actually coming back to. There's a feeder show for the show she was on in 2024. There's the feeder show for 2025, and she's gonna go like wreck some young vocalists, like break some hearts.
Oh, wow.
She's
Okay.
basically playing the Simon Cowell of vocalists.
Okay.
Like
That
I'm
is
going to
so-
destroy you because I'm so awesome.
that's
So yes,
not her.
so there's that, and then Dallas on November 1st, Milwaukee on November 2nd, and Yoshi's 26, 27 of
On your
October.
birthday.
I'm sorry, I didn't go in order there.
Yeah.
So that's what we have
We
coming
saved
up.
the best for last. Stephen Hill's birthday weekend.
That's all right, absolutely.
Quinn, where are you going next? To work.
Class.
She said to work in the morning.
I do have a show in Chicago. I don't have the flyer yet, but they did already buy my flight it's a Monday, October 21st.
Nice.
And then my grandma's birthday is coming up October 10th. So I'm going to try to be back home for that. And then after that, it's my birthday, which is November 8th. I just want everybody to go vote.
There you go. There you go. Very, very commendable of you. Myra J., what about you?
I believe I'm working with Mr. Wallace on October 11th.
Comics for
Kamala. Yes.
Oh,
Here in Atlanta, I believe it's going to be at the Uptown. I'll have more definite information next week.
Yeah, well, everybody knew it was at the Uptown except for George, but yeah. But that's going to be a great evening there. Quinn, you mentioned this earlier. Marcelus Williams was executed yesterday, despite prosecutors and the victim's family asking that his life be spared. His murder conviction was questioned by the prosecutor, and he died by lethal injection Tuesday evening in Missouri. Just as we were in this show, they announced that the execution had taken place in Missouri after the United States Supreme Court denied a stay. The 55-year-old man was put to death about 6 p.m. Central Time. And it was a case in which he was accused of killing a former reporter. And as I said, her relatives, I think it was her husband, who said that he did not believe this man was guilty for his partner's death. And they had asked, and Missouri and Kansas are notorious for this. These are two of the most notorious states in terms of the law enforcement, the attorney generals, states attorneys general, that just don't believe what they see, what is presented to them. They're just going to go with the fact that here you have a black man and he's guilty, and we're going to put him to death.
No, because I and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm the optimism that I usually have is deafening. But I feel like there needs to be more of an explanation of why they thought it was okay to kill someone for which there was so much doubt.
So the High Court, thank you for asking this, because the High Court offered no explanation for its decision. There were no noted dissents in 2 of his appeals, and in the third, Justices Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson said they would have granted the request to pause the execution. He was, and this had to do with the killing of Felicia Gale, as I mentioned. I didn't say her name, in 2001.
It was a white woman.
Reporter. I'm sorry.
She's a white woman.
A white woman.
And was innocently killed for allegedly killing a white woman.
Or allegedly killing her in 2001. Correct.
Okay, and there's DNA evidence, right? There's DNA evidence that it wasn't he, or am I wrong?
I believe they have evidence. They have DNA of other people, DNA, but not his.
I'm the optimist. I just don't. I just don't understand how, if there's any shred of a doubt, that feels constitutional amendment-ish Like you should never be able to execute anybody if there's a shred of a doubt. If like if there's video and a dude's holding the knife and like looking at the camera going like I'll pull the lever. But it feels like if there's ever a shred, like what's the point?
So it's really interesting how his attorneys are still saying, his attorney yesterday after the execution was completed, one of his attorneys, Trisha Rojo Bushnell, told CNN the state was prepared to kill an innocent man. They will do it even though the prosecutor doesn't want him to be executed. The jurors who sentenced him to death don't want him to be executed, and the victims themselves don't want him to be executed. We have a system that values finality over fairness, and this is the result that we will get from that.
Yeah, okay, but I'm okay. I'm once again the bad guy. Who cares what the prosecutor wants? Who cares what the jurors want? Who cares? Like I don't care what they want. What I'm hearing is there's DNA evidence there that supports that it could have been someone else. That's the only thing that matters to me. I don't care who wants it, right? If there's DNA evidence, then it feels like you should go like, okay, let's pause before we end this person's life. I don't care who wants it. Who wants it is irrelevant to me. It may not be to me. Who wants him to not be killed is irrelevant. DNA evidence is all of the relevance.
So the top prosecutor in St. Louis County joined this man's attorneys in asking for the conviction to be overturned after new testimony from the 2001 trial prosecutor and recent DNA testing showed that there was evidence contamination.
That to me, and I can't imagine how in this country do you get that and there's still an automatic ability to kill someone.
Right.
That's phenomenally horrible. It's
awful. It's just awful.
Right.
It's just yeah.
So sorry to his family and to his loved ones. It's just as Dora Levitt Tiggs says it best off of Facebook. One word: inexcusable.
Inexcusable. Mm-hmm. Yep. Something not quite as serious as life and death, although it is serious in terms of government employees continuing to work. A government shutdown has been averted. The Senate cleared the stopgap funding bill tonight that will now head off a government shutdown next week. And it will go into despite what former President Donald Trump wanted, it now heads to the desk of President Biden. He's expected to sign it quickly, preventing a funding lapse Tuesday, which is the 1st of October, delaying the government shutdown. Now it's another, as I said, it's a stopgap. So it goes now until December
Christmas.
20th. Right. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, just before Christmas. But by that time, the elections will have been done.
That's right.
And it might be somebody else's problem. It could be somebody else's problem in terms of the House. Mike Johnson could be out of a job because Democrats take over the House, please God. And the Senate no longer has to have that 50-50 split, please God. And the president will be different for sure.
For sure.
Please God.
So Myra, you are having storms right now in Atlanta, but this is not Helene, right?
Correct. This is a separate storm. Did it come over there?
We're having some tumbling going on here too.
Okay. It's a pretty big storm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Actually, jealous. Just had to top us with the earthquake. Okay, fine.
In New York City.
Yes, there's a separate storm that has come in from the west that hit Georgia today, and it was a pretty bad storm. I mean, my power's been flickering on and off all day. We got a horrible rain, thunder, the whole thing, and Helene ain't even got here yet, and they're saying buckle up, 6 to 10 inches could be. With 50 mile per hour. Yeah.
Of rain. Yeah.
I know that's why I wasn't happy about it. So yeah, and then 50 mile per hour gust of wind. So
and you guys have such fine drainage there.
Yeah. So a good chance of flooding, trees falling, power outages. So I beg all of Georgia, just be safety aware. Do what you need to do.
So Helene is a Category 1 right now. Is expected to become a Category 3
Oh,
by the
no,
time it.
I just heard 4. When,
Okay.
when it hits land, yeah, it's been upgraded to
In
a
the Big
4.
Bend area with Tallahassee in her direct sights.
Oh.
It's expected to make landfall late Thursday night. The Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says the people in Florida should anticipate widespread power outages, heavy rainfall, and high winds, as Myra said, as Hurricane Helene approaches. The storm is expected to bring over a foot of rain over parts of the state, and storm surge could reach up to 15 feet in some
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah.
Other states are in preparation mode. Myra's Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens said his city is preparing, indicating significant wind, heavy rain, and flooding. And in a news conference this afternoon, agencies are clearing drain systems to prepare for the rain. Go out and clear the drains. Don't wait too long for that, fella. Could put this at serious risk for flooding. Crews are all ready to deal with downed trees, and shelters are open for people who need housing. Now, here's
Yes.
the really important thing, Myra. For
Do I have
baseball
wine?
fans,
Oh.
no, Major League Baseball postponed the rest of the Atlanta Braves versus the New York Mets series due to the hurricane. The game will now be played Monday.
A double header. We're
Yeah.
going to get a twofer.
A twofer
know.
at Truist
Mhm.
Park starting at 1:10. The second game will start 40 minutes after the first game. And the Braves and the Mets are locked in a tight battle for the final National League wild card spot.
So that'll be
Well,
a big
Helene could come
attendance.
and mess up everything, but baseball
True that.
will
True that.
go on.
Yeah.
And speaking of sports, Stephen Hill, how do you feel about your team's new darling quarterback?
So I need
Jaden
everybody.
Daniels?
I need everybody to record this because this is the moment. This last game against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday night was the moment that all suffering Washington football teams will point to 5 years from now when we have a Super Bowl championship. We will point to this game as the turnaround, right? Forget everything beforehand. Like there'll be other great games after this, but this game against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday night in prime time, away game with Jaden Daniels, will be the single game that we fans can point to as like this was the time. This was the moment. This was our Tom Brady coming in for Drew Bledsoe moment, right?
Right.
This was our Lamar Jackson third game of the season, his first season. This is that moment. It was so wonderful to watch him after 2 games. And my brother and I went to the first game. And if you didn't see it, the Commanders beat the Bengals 38-33. But that's not the point. Is that Monday Night Football. The point is that Jaden Daniels is now the rookie with the highest completion percentage in any individual game. He completed 91.3% of his passes, including 2 for over 50 yards. Right?
To the baby fridge. Did you see the pass to the baby fridge there?
His first touchdown pass ever was to an offensive tackle on a trick play, right? Who did the Q-Sci 5 dance in the end zone? This could have been the blackest NFL game ever in the history, and it will be the beginning of the Commanders' goodbye, Dan Snyder, you sniveling idiot. It's taken a year for Josh Harris and Magic Johnson to get the locker room and everything else right. All right, I'll stop. But
I love it. I absolutely love it.
This was the moment.
I wanted you to talk about it because I don't watch football, but in doing my research, because I want the Bears to lose every game that they possibly can. And reading, in Tuesday's newspapers about this kid, I was like, LSU who? What? And this kid came
he's
out
LSU product. He beat another LSU, Joe Burrow, who was the. I'm sorry. Am I allowed to say? Am I allowed to say Great White Hope? No. All right. No. I shouldn't say that. I should. Okay. Never mind. Sorry. Never mind. So no. So he's whatever. But man, Jaden Daniels and that entire team, but mostly Jaden Daniels, played like they were out of their mind. Magic Johnson is a part owner of the Commanders. For those of you who don't know.
And brought in a new coach. Dan Quinn came in, and sorry, Ron Rivera just didn't have it. But,
and Dan Quinn's got a couple of boulders take off of his shoulder since he was up 25 points in the Super Bowl and then lost. Dan Quinn was the coach of the Atlanta Falcons when they lost to the
Why
New
you
England
gotta
Patriots.
bring that back up? We're still trying to get over that.
Here's the great thing about that game, and then I'll shut up, I promise. But I'm so excited about this. The great thing about that game is you have conversations with kids who are like, "Oh, I'm out of it, I'm out of it." There's never been a game, certainly not a Super Bowl, never been a Super Bowl where the team that won was behind the entire time
Right.
until the very last play. Like literally, the Patriots didn't lead at any point in time.
That's
So you
right.
should never give up. It's never over until the very last play.
Oh, you don't know how many times that has been used as an inspiration.
We're not talking about your
How
love
many
life,
times
Myra.
must the Atlanta Falcons hear
Oh,
about that?
okay.
Well,
How to lose.
There's the whole part about the team getting a little too cocky at halftime, but we'll let that go.
We're going to close with entertainment,
Wait,
and
wait.
I had a story that I did want to talk about, but we don't have enough time. I just want to say rest in peace, Michaela Prince, the ballerina that died earlier this month. We have not talked about it, and I promise we will on another day. But I did want to get your take, Stephen, in this short entertainment segment about all of the uproar over Janet Jackson. And what she said about Kamala Harris and her misinterpretation of Kamala Harris, who she is, who her parents are, and all of that.
I don't think it's over. I think it's really unfortunate. I think it's taking far too much focus off of the prize. But it's also going to give Republicans a lot of rope. But I have to. So I said that. But I need you to. I am Stephen Cat Hill because Catherine Glover, who danced with Prince in arguably his two greatest tours of all time, the Sign of the Times tour of '87 and the Love Sexy tour of '88. Cat, I Need You to Rap, who was the featured rapper on Alphabet Street, unfortunately passed away earlier this week at the age of 60. She was one of Prince's greatest on-stage foils. I think she was the greatest on-stage foil ever. And if you ever see the video for the Sign of the Times movie live, you will understand Cat was crucial to his creative process and how he's able to do it on stage on the Sign of the Times tour and Love Sexy tour. Arguably, again, two of the best creative tours of all time. So RIP to Catherine Glover.
And I had that in my notes too, but I did want to get Michaela Prince in there, and I did want to talk about this. So let us, sorry about that. We will move to the jewel, and today's in and out, inhale and exhale. Be intentional about how you spend your time, making sure it aligns with your priorities. So inhale, good intentions. Exhale, excuses.
Okay, so how do I do this I have to do this on the inhale then. Wait. Shantae! Shantae! It's very hard to say her name on the intake.
Yeah,
my wife's name.
Okay. Yeah, those are your good intentions. Exhale, excuses. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. Go be brilliant, young Kwyn, and save the world. Myra, be safe. And Stephen Hill, go Commanders.
Go Commanders.